So welcome to the Scale Your Business workshop. My name is Dave Holland. I use the tagline Business Co-Pilot. Some people know me on the call. Other people maybe don't. We've got some new faces joining, which is absolutely fine. And what I'm talking about today is how to scale your business. This is a bit different than just normal how to grow your business. There's a certain aspect to scalability that is some missing tricks that I find some people don't know or don't realize or don't recognize. So I'm going to run through some ideas and tips based on my own experience, my experience in logistics, transport, franchising, distribution, and also those with my clients as well. We now work with clients all over the world. So it's all about scaling your business, and hopefully, it's going to be general by definition, but hopefully you can take some tips away that you can use in your business to help you out for the growth for the rest of the year. So just for those who don't know us, maybe, here's where we are based. So I'm sat here, the blue pin. This is France. We're right on the German border. You can see there just between Luxembourg and Saarbrücken, which is over in Germany. Little tiny village called, I'm going to say Remmering. That's the English way of saying it. Remmering is the French way of saying it. Been here in France now for about 11 years. Our offices are in Luxembourg, so about 35 minutes north of here. And again, we're right on the border of Luxembourg, Germany, and France, really close to Schengen, actually, which is a tiny little town in Luxembourg where the Schengen Agreement was signed. Our offices are there, and we overlook a fabulous vineyard and the Moselle Valley, which is fantastic. We have offices in the UK as well, in Swindon. So we've got Luxembourg and the Moselle Valley and Swindon. So we have offices in both, and we work with clients all over the world in, I think it's 34 countries now, typically business owners, entrepreneurs, executives, helping them grow their business, grow the lifestyle as coaches and trainers. That's sort of who we are. We started this business, Lynn and I, 19 years ago now, pretty much. We're in our 20th year, I think. And we've been all over the world with it as well. So we love what we do. That's how we do it. And this is this is not a pitch workshop. I'm not going to sit here and sell to you or make you all these offers. I am going to make one offer, and it's going to take me 30 seconds. So just please indulge me. As you go through this workshop, if what I say makes sense and you think, well, I'd like to sit down with Dave and have a conversation, I run a number of strategy sessions. And what I'm going to suggest while I click and let other people in is it's called a strategy session. And what I say is we have 50 minutes together. And in that 50 minutes, I'm going to find £50,000, dollars or euros in your business. So if you want to have 50 minutes, it may go to an hour, whatever, but 50 minutes with me over Zoom, looking at your business, looking at numbers with some tips and ideas, and we can find, and we always do, we're going to find 50,000 for you in your business. Let me know, do me a message, send me an email, grab me on LinkedIn. We'll put some time aside and we'll have a strategy session. It's no charge for it. It's just so we can hook up, have a chat and a conversation. If it means we work together afterwards, well then great, but let's have a strategy call anyway. So that's my offer for this particular workshop. And people are still signing in. I'm going to multitask here. This is quite concerning. Anyway, so this is what growth looks like. Now, this is the sales growth, the sales chart of Amazon. So annual net revenue of Amazon from 2004 to 2020, and they went from 6.92 billion in 2004 to 86 billion in 2020, and that will probably be compounded again through the 450 mark, I guess, in 2021. And this is what is called exponential growth. It's where it accelerates, it's continuous. It's not just bumbling along and static, it's exponential growth. Now, when they first started Amazon was started on the 5th of July 1994. Within I think it was 2 months of them starting to trade, they were selling, or sales were running about 20,000 per week. So that's 27 years ago. So they started out at 20,000 a week, selling just books. Those are old enough to remember. They were just an online bookstore. So that's how they started out, 20,000 a week. Now they're selling 7.4 billion a week. And that's over 27 years. Now that is exponential growth. And that's an interesting model, because what Amazon have done is they've used some of the key principles that I'm going to run through. And I'm not suggesting you guys are going to become the new Amazon, but in terms of the scalability and the growth potential, there's some lessons to be learned from people like Amazon, because they don't have some of the mindsets that we have in the SME sector. So it's exponential growth. That is the potential of scalability. So what happens is, if you look at the how the chart can look, and this is called the Fibonacci sequence growth, the golden ratio. I don't know if you've come across it at all, but this is if you plot growth according to the golden ratio, it means you're going to grow every year at 61.8%. That's how the business grows, and then it plots this graph and this chart. And this is pretty much, don't hold me to the exact numbers, but shape of graph, shape of curve. This is what Amazon have done and what other organizations have done when they achieve real scalability. And you can look at some of the .coms, the Facebooks, the Ubers. There's other organizations out there that have achieved this pattern of growth by having scalability built into their business model. And the Fibonacci sequence, and you can Google it, I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but it is a very elegant, it's nature's growth pattern. It's how crystals form, it's how trees grow, root systems grow, it's how shells grow as they rotate out. Have a look at it. It's a fabulous subject, actually. And this golden ratio appears in architecture, it appears in nature. It's the size of your credit card, the ratio between the length and depth of your credit card is the golden ratio. So that's what it looks like. It's a very elegant growth model. And what happens in business, most businesses, they do grow to a certain extent. And what happens is they get to a certain point and then they have a crisis point, and then they stop growing, and their sales then either reduce, or they top out, or they grow a bit and they drop a bit and they come back up again. But they get to this sort of saturation point beyond which they can't go. And the reason they can't go beyond that saturation point is nothing to do with the market. It's nothing to do with the clients or the customers or even the product to a certain extent. It's all to do with strategic choices that the people who are in the business have made that means they hold back. So that's where the sales can look like. So if you've got a mindset where you want to increase your business on an exponential growth model, which is possible in every sector, pretty much, if you apply the principles, you've got to choose to want it first. And then you've got to stand back a little bit from it and realize that you can't achieve this level of growth with traditional thinking, because traditional thinking for many people in business, was me included as well for a long time. I come from transport, distribution, warehousing business, and to grow those businesses, we just thought we had to do more. Get more vans, get more people, get more clients, get a warehouse somewhere, get a warehouse in Manchester, get a warehouse in London, and force feed our business model onto the market. Now, back in the day, we got that business, so going back 25 years ago now, we got that business to around about 3.2 to 3.5 million, depends on how many credit notes we had to give out. But anyway, call it 3.5 million. And it was good business. It was great. It was really hard work. Anybody that's been in the transport logistics business, it's a tough business. Anyway, so we got it. We force fed this thing and we got it going. We had depots and vans and trucks. And it was pretty hard. And if I'd have applied what I've learned in my career subsequently to that business, I can see some real opportunity. We could have done things slightly different. So that's what I'm going to go through today, is the different approach that can work in just about any sector. So what we're looking for is scalability, and scalability is the key. I want you to remember that term. It's not growth, it's scale we're looking for. It's duplication, it's ability to sell not just your products, but sell your ideas, sell your principles. I'm going to touch on that as well as we go along. So this is where businesses have their crisis point. So imagine a micro business, and these are the solopreneurs. It could be an accountant, a lawyer, a marketing person. It could be anything you like. An individual person, the problem they have is consistency, because what happens when you're a solopreneur, and some of you may recognize this as you've been on your journey as well, is you spend all your time marketing, then you get a client, so you stop marketing and then you start delivering, and then you lose the client, or the client comes to an end and you've got no client, so then you start marketing again, then you get a client and you stop marketing, and it's this seesaw of 100% marketing, then 100% delivery, and your sales pipeline looks like a jagged edge, and it's an inconsistency, and that is a huge limitation on most individuals. They don't have any scalability because they're too busy marketing and delivering, or marketing and delivering. And the solution to that is team. Get some people to help you, whether they're employees, whether they're part-timers, whether they're virtual, doesn't matter what it is, but they've got to get a team. So the first crisis point can be fixed to a certain extent by team, by recruitment, by building some team around you. Challenge there, of course, is most people in business by themselves, they will say, I can't afford to hire anybody because I haven't got the cash flow to sustain it because I'm too busy marketing and then I'm delivering. So it's a real challenge for people to break through. Now, if you look at most people, when they do recruit people, they get it wrong. They just do. I've owned a recruitment business in the past, and it's easy to get wrong, but most people get it wrong. So if anybody out on the call today is thinking of recruiting or hiring people, I know Jimmy is on the call today. Jimmy and I, we've done a recording together, and I know a little bit about his business and how he works as a recruiter. So contact Jimmy Armitage at Wavelength Recruitment, and he's got a very interesting way of approaching the recruitment process. And so don't do it yourselves. If you're going to recruit people, Jimmy Armitage, Wavelength Recruitment, I recommend you give him a shout. Find him on LinkedIn, and I'm sure he'll have a conversation with you. So you break through that first point, then you're into the second one, you're into the small business. Now you've got a team. And it gets a bit easier. The problem then, of course, is efficiency, because what happens when you get a team around you, first of all, because we come into the business with this, and I'm going to touch on this in a second or two, this technician mindset, we're not very good at letting go. We're not very good at training or structuring or systemizing. So what tends to happen is we hire all these great people and they all stand around watching us do the work because we haven't trained them and shown them how to do it. So the challenge for the smaller to mid-sized businesses, if you like, even if they've got people on board, is efficiency, which equals lack of profitability. Because if you hire 5 people, I guarantee your sales don't go up 5-fold. They just don't, because the people aren't as efficient or productive, and they're doing things that are, in overhead rather than anything else. So the challenge for a lot of small businesses is efficiency and profitability. And I was speaking with an accounting client over in Germany, and she was saying, she said, she just got the team all running, all is good, and the profitability is beginning to tank. And I said, well, show me. She said, well, I think I need to put my prices up because it's a gross margin issue. I said, well, it could be a gross margin issue. Yeah, it could well be, it manifests as a gross margin issue. Is it pricing or is it efficiency, productivity? When we looked at it, what was happening is she was quoting or allowing 10 hours to do a set of accounts, for example, but on the timesheet, the team were taking 15, 20, 30, 40 hours in some instances. So the team were actually dragging the business back. So efficiency is a real challenge for businesses in this sector, and therefore they can't achieve growth and they can't break through and achieve scalability. The solution to that is systems. Systemize your business, and it could be through apps and technology and structure and performance and procedures, but systems are the key. This is your breakthrough point from small business. And we've all been there. I know, I guess people on the call here are either experiencing it or they've been there, but you can't break through, you can't grow through this glass ceiling in the small business sector unless you're systemized. You've just got to do it. It doesn't work otherwise. Otherwise, your profits suffer and you revert back being to a solopreneur, which is no fun. So you break through this, and then you have a medium-sized business. Now you've got people everywhere. You've got divisions, you've got directors, you've got maybe multiple shareholders. And now the challenge is reach. How do you take what you do that is so good that got you to this point, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you're doing 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, whatever it is in terms of sales, but you still can't punch through because you can't make the reach. And I'll make you a quick book recommendation here. If you haven't read this book and you're at this point, I recommend it, The Founder's Mentality, because what it suggests is that the founders of the business, there's a lot of founders on the call today. I'm a founder, and Lynn's a founder as well. And what I found was when I started to recruit people, my mindset of entrepreneurship and let's get things done and pace and creativity and innovation and do whatever it takes, then you start hiring people who want stability, security, and a stable career with a pension and a holiday fund. It's like, crikey, they don't think like we think. Now, if you surround yourself with all those sort of people, guess what? The business won't grow. Now, you don't want a room full of entrepreneurs, you're going to kill each other, but you do need people who think in terms of stability and systems and everything like that. Absolutely. but not all of them. You need some entrepreneurial spirit in the business as well. So I recommend the book anyway. But reach, how do you expand the reach of a business like that? Because this is where we went wrong. But in the transport business, warehousing business, we just forced ourselves on the market and we were pricing tight, doing deals and buying contracts and working really hard, but it was not very elegant. It worked, but not very elegant. And the solution here is leverage. Now I'm going to explain what leverage means. Leverage is a small input for a big output. That's what leverage fundamentally means. Now, if you can do that with business, what it means is you haven't got to work quite so hard. And critical mass comes in growth, where for the same level of input of work or capital or people or whatever it is, same level of input, you get a much bigger output. That's leverage, and that's scalability as well. Something to watch out for if you've got a medium-sized business like this, and I do see this quite a lot. This happens a lot in maybe manufacturing sector to a degree, where you get a company of this size, and maybe they're doing 10 million, which all is good, but they've got two clients. One client does 50 grand a year, the other one does 9.55 million a year, and they're totally dependent on one client. We have a rule, and we've had this for a long time in my career: no one client should represent more than 10% of our revenue. And that's a pretty good rule that we find works in our sector. So watch out for client dependency. If you've got one big client that represents any more than 20%, 25% of your business, then it's difficult to scale that. You need some more big clients, so you want to dilute the sales ledger down a little bit. But the solution is leverage. Now, before we can get to make leverage, there's a mistake that a lot of business owners make, not a mistake, but a situation that they find themselves in, and it's the fact they have this called technician syndrome. And what I mean by that is that accountants run accounting practices, lawyers run legal practices, plumbers run plumbing companies, all this sort of thing. Now, if you're an accountant or you're a lawyer, fantastic. I'm not saying you shouldn't run an accounting practice or a legal practice, but one of my clients is a big accounting firm, and they took the decision that the accountants wouldn't be running the firm. So they brought in an external managing director who's from the packaging industry, actually. So he's not an accountant, he's not qualified as an accountant, but he's a manager, a leader, he's got a lot of industry experience, and he is the managing director, and he's now managing the business, professionally managing it. And the people who founded the business, they were accountants. They're not allowed to go there anymore. They're off. They're doing their own thing. They're having a great time. All is good. They've actually brought a non-technician into the business, who then is taking business decisions. And the biggest thing what that does, because we've all done this, if I know my business inside out, and so do you, and somebody says, well, how do we do this? You'll go, you know what, I'll do it. I'll take the monkey off your back, put it on mine, and away we go. And we lock ourselves in to this level of stability that we can't grow through. So if you find yourself being the technician in your own business, not a bad thing, it's a very good thing, but to grow and scale, you're going to have to step back a little bit and maybe adjust your mindset. That sounds very harsh, but I see it happen a lot, because if you're there as a limiting factor in the business, thinking like an accountant, you need to think like an entrepreneur. That can hold you back as well. So just watch out for technician syndrome. What it basically means is, if you look at the book, you've come across Rob Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talks about the cash flow quadrants. Well, if you're a technician in your own business, you may go from employed, the E quadrant, to the S quadrant, to self-employed. But if you keep thinking like a technician, you're stuck there. You lock yourselves into a job. We want you to go to business owner quadrant. This is what we're talking about here, where you stand back and you manage the business. And I was speaking to a client this morning, and I said to him, look, pretend I'm running your business. And this guy runs a bit, I'm not sure what he does actually. It's a big asset fund management company up in Luxembourg. And I said to him, could I do your job? Could I come and do your job? And he said, well, yeah, technically you could, from a leadership and compliance, say, yes, you could do my job. Now, I couldn't do it like he does it, because he's got 20 years experience, he's qualified. I couldn't do what he does. Now, the challenge really is, or the question is, could I do a better job from a growth perspective? And this was quite challenging for him to go through this conversation with me, because I would have to hire people like him to come and do it. My eyes would be fixed front, and I wouldn't be able to do the stuff that he does because I can't do it. I can focus on growth and scalability. So if you find yourself getting locked into that technician role, just watch out perhaps. Just watch out perhaps and see it can be a limitation. So what we're talking about is fractional thinking. This is the difference between business growth and scalability. It's fractional thinking. And what this means is, fundamentally, is you build something once and you sell it forever. So Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, that book, I haven't got a copy of it, but anyway, 120 million copies of that book have been sold year to date. How many times did J.K. Rowling have to write that book? Once. Write it once, sell it forever. That's leverage, that's fractional thinking, and that's effectively scalability. That's the mindset. So rather than just selling a service that repeats all the time, rinse and repeat every month, every quarter, we're keeping stock and sending bits and pieces out and products and all this sort of thing. What can you do such that you build it once, whatever it is, and then you sell it forever? And this is a just slightly different mindset. And this is something that applies to just about every business if you stand back and have a look at it, because every product or every service can be scaled, and somebody else has done it in your sector. And if they haven't yet, well, they're going to. So, but this is the mindset: fractional thinking, build once and sell forever. Just sort of hang on to that thought for a second or two. So examples of fractional thinking or fractional businesses, I mean, the fact that we're having this conversation now over Zoom, how many times did Zoom have to build the software application to run this on? Well, they built it, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. And I sense that the people at Zoom, or the shareholders, were quite glad that COVID turned up. Anyway, separate conversation. But they build the software once and they sell it forever. Now, what another thing that they don't do when you register with Zoom, and I have the Zoom Professional, am I buying the Zoom software? No, I'm renting access to it. And that's another key thing to bear in mind. So we are building it once, selling it multiple times, but actually we're not selling it, we're renting it out. We are in this fragmented marketplace now where we're not going to buy stuff, we're going to rent it. And there's all sorts of different models you can use for rental. So we don't buy Zoom. We don't buy, well, increasingly, we're going to buy cars. I mean, the most popular car in the world, believe it or not, is the Toyota Corolla. 40 million have been built and continuing in different guises, of course, but in 14 countries. Hugely fractionalized thinking. Now what you do, because do you go to a car dealer now and do you buy a car? I'm very old school. I know that I'm old school, but I want to buy my car. I want to walk in and buy my car for cash. Thank you very much. Here's the cash. Here's the keys. Off I go. Job done. But that's not the new way. Now, increasingly, people don't buy cars. They have a rental agreement. They just have a lease agreement, a personal plan, whatever you want to call it, where they pay an amount per month. They drive the car. 2 years' time, they hand it back and get another one. They never actually own the vehicle. So we're not transferring value of assets. We're transferring right of use through rental, through leasing. And this, again, is another shift. So in the future, I don't think people are going to buy cars. They will lease them and rent them. I can remember when Lynn and I were first married back in 1986, we were looking to get a first TV for our house. And back in the old days, and there's some people on this call I know that are similar generation to me, you'll remember you didn't buy a TV or a video recorder or player. You used to rent it from the Granada store on the high street in the UK. It was all rented. You could rent a washing machine, you could rent whatever it was. Those days have all gone. You can still do it, I guess, but not so much. And the reason for that, of course, is the prices came crashing down. They're cheaper now anyway. But think about rental. Think about renting your products, renting your services, and renting access to what you do, rather than simply selling what you do. So Toyota cars, another one there. The iPhone, Build it once, sell it forever. It's protected, it's designed, it's copyrighted or copywritten. That's the right term. They build it once and they sell it forever. McDonald's do the same thing. What is McDonald's as a business organization? Are they a catering company? Are they a toy distribution company? I think they were once the biggest toy distribution company in the world. Are they a property company? Actually, they're in the intellectual property business. That's I think the business they're in. Intellectual property. What McDonald's have got is a whole host of intellectual property that is protected by copyright and all this sort of thing. And they go, okay, you as a franchisee can have access to this. And people say to me, I'm going to buy a franchise. And you go, no, you're not. You're going to rent one. You're not going to buy a franchise. You're going to rent one in any sector. And what McDonald's will do for a fee, they'll give you the rights to use their brand, their logo, their systems, all the marketing, all that sort of thing. And they say, you can run this business for a period of time under our banner using our systems, but you're only renting it and nobody's buying a bit of McDonald's. So what they've done there is they've taken the food business and they've rented it out on a grand scale. Microsoft, the fact we're having this conversation over a PC or on your phone, most of us use Microsoft Office. Brilliant. Who remembers the days when you used to buy the CD pack? Remember buying the CDs? I bought Encarta. Remember that? I bought Encarta, the book on the disc as well. But you used to buy the CDs and you have them stored away and you had to keep them off site. So if there was a fire, you could reboot your system, all this sort of thing. Those days are gone. Now we don't have CDs. I do have some clients running, I think it's Windows 95 still. But anyway, that's a separate conversation. But we rent. We chip in. We don't buy Microsoft Office. In fact, we never did actually, but we rent a slice of it, and they've achieved scalability by not selling what they do, by renting access to it. There's another thing to bear in mind. And something else, if I put this picture up on the screen, and if you were in a workshop now, as well face to face, I could say, what is this? And most people would say, I think that's a Stanley knife, at least for people of a certain generation, because the company Stanley designed and manufactured this thing. They put Stanley on the side of it, and it became the brand that defined the sector. It's actually a box cutter or a retractable blade model knife or something like that. There's loads out there, but if you want a knife to cut some, strapping off a pallet or whatever it's going to be, you want a Stanley knife. And that is how they've dominated their sector, by being first and by having their name recognized. So you can do that as well. You can have this fractional thinking by having name domination. So how do we do it? That's all very good. That's a principle. There's a mindset. How do we do it? What do you have to do? So you've got to start thinking of a breakthrough in terms of the approach we're taking to businesses. And this next picture made me smile. Some may know who this is. This is from the Wacky Races back in the 1970s, I suppose. Professor Pat Pending. And it's something to bear in mind, because this is obviously Pat Pending is patent or patent pending. And so what we need to consider is we've got to apply to our companies, our businesses and our products, what I call CPR. Now, before I go into a little bit of detail here, I am not a specialist in trademarks and patents and that sort of thing. My understanding from a business perspective is how you can use them and introduce them. There is a gentleman on the call this afternoon, a colleague, friend of mine called Jonathan Midgley, who is a partner at Cleveland Scott York. They are patent attorneys, copyright experts, lawyers in the UK. So I may say something that's not quite right. This is not my official legal guidance or advice. If you want guidance and advice around protecting your products and services, contact Jonathan Midgley, Cleveland Scott York. He's on LinkedIn. I can give you his details. Drop me a note. I'll introduce you. He's a rock star. He's one of the top guys in the UK. So I'm going to talk about principles. He will talk about detail. And before you do anything on this front, my official advice would be get official legal advice. Speak to Jonathan Midgley at Cleveland Scott York. So there we go. That's my little disclaimer before you start to shout at me. But I call it CPR because we have the C is copyright. Get your products and services, your systems and structure, your documents, whatever it is you're producing, get it copyrighted, make sure you're protected by it and people can't wander off with it. It's intellectual property. You'd be amazed what counts as intellectual property. So if you've got intellectual property, which could be systems or designs or structures or colors or whatever it is you're producing, shapes and images can be copyrighted as well. Get yourself protected. And this is the first thing we need to do before we can achieve this scalability. So there's copyright is the first thing to consider, and you can just put a copyright sticker on your things and get away with it, I suppose, but that's not strictly the way to do it. My understanding is, for example, I publish a number of books, and my understanding is, and Jonathan may pitch in and say it's not quite the case, I don't know, but my understanding is because I've written the book, I get allocated copyright via publishing rights and that sort of thing. So write a book and you can get some protection there. So copyright, consider copyright. Next one is get patented, get your patents sorted out. Now, this could be very, very simple, straightforward. This is something, again, I've learned in my career and speaking with Jonathan as well. It's amazing what you can get a patent on. The one you can see on the screen there is a real US patent, 10th of December, 1985. And this was from Apple. And it's the first Apple phone, not the iPhone, an Apple phone. And there was going to be obviously a clamshell design, Apple logo opens up to a phone. I don't know if they actually made this thing, but a patent is simply saying, here's a thing, here's a design, here's an idea, here's a mechanism or something I've designed, and I'm going to apply for a patent. And providing nobody else has done it before, and it's unique and all that sort of thing, you can potentially get a patent for your ideas. You don't have to make it. You don't have to build a thing. Just create the patent to protect your intellectual property, your design ideas. It can be simple things like, nuts and bolts can be patented, or screw threads or mechanisms or electronics, or anything can have a patent applied to it if you do it properly. So consider what you've got in your business that is unique and special, that has taken all your years of experience to build and develop, that is unprotected right now, that people can wander off with and just photocopy it and use it without you knowing. That's when you've got this leakage in your IP, and you don't want that. So patent is a great way of doing it. It's a very complex subject. You can even Google, you can go onto Google patents. There's a whole search engine dedicated to patents on Google, for example. But you can check, who else is doing this? Is there something similar out there? Is what I'm doing infringing on somebody else's patent? Has somebody else designed this widget before I go into full-blown production? Then check it out first. So if you've got an idea, you can cross-check to make sure the patent, you're not infringing somebody else's patent as well. So again, speak to Jonathan. He's the guy. He knows all the ins and outs. He will guide you through, but it's worth considering it. That's the C is copyright. P is your patent, and number 3 is your registered trademarks, your brand, your logo, your colors, your Nike. We all know Nike or Coca-Cola. Registered trademarks. If you use the Nike logo, it's a registered trademark. If you use that on a product somewhere, I guarantee, I'm not suggesting you try it, by the way, you're going to get a phone call, or the lads are going to come around and have a word with you and just suggest you don't use that because it's protected. They recognize it as being a fundamental aspect of their ability to grow and scale. So those are 3 things. There may be other things you should consider as well, but those are 3 things that will build a framework of protection for you around your IP, your designs, your logos, your business, your speciality, your USP. In fact, without those things in place, you can't really achieve scalability, because once you start to grow, somebody's going to go, that's great, I'll do that. And they take it off you, and you've got nowhere to go because you're not protected. Now, there are inherent protections around things that you've designed and that sort of thing, but it's a risk. You don't want to be doing that. So if you want to achieve scalability, you've got to start off with a product and a service or a design or a concept or a logo and a brand that is protected, such that when you grow and scale and you rent it out to people or use that philosophy, other people can't go, that's great, thanks very much, off I go. And you can see that I saw over in China, some companies built a car that it looks like a Rolls Royce. It looks like a Rolls Royce, but it's not. Now, again, this is what I got from John. I found this fascinating. Can we do much about it? Can Rolls-Royce go to China and go, oi, you're building a car that looks like our Rolls-Royce? Well, I guess you can, but it might be quite difficult. What would definitely happen, though, if the Chinese attempted to import that vehicle into the UK or to Europe or whatever it was, immediately they will be challenged on that, because it's what's called passing off. They're mimicking another brand which is protected, but they've got to be protected first. So all these sort of things go into the mix. Take advice and guidance, but look at your business. I'm guaranteed somewhere in your business there is going to be a copyright issue, a positive thing. There's going to be registered trademarks you should be looking at, and there might even be a patent or a system and a structure there. But have a look at those three things. It's the CPR. It's getting your business ready to go. Don't go for growth until you've done these things, because otherwise you'll do the growth and then people will just walk away. They'll take it off you. So CPR, copyright, patents, and then registered trademarks. Three things to consider. There may be other ones, but those are the things I would consider. How it shows up, for example, is you've probably heard the story, but the ring pull on a can of beer or soft drink, whatever it is, that the ring pull, this particular ring pull, and there's probably people on here, I think, thank you for looking at messages over here. Yeah, Jonathan, Jonathan's put his email address up on the chat there. So please contact Jonathan via email, via LinkedIn, and he's really helpful. He knows his stuff, so he will guide you through and probably tell you 10 things I've just said that are wrong. Anyway, but it's an idea. So the ring pull, this ring pull, now you probably recognize this as being the one that used to pull off the can and then used to throw it away, or you put it into the can and then you'd swallow it when you drank it, whatever. So, but this particular ring pull was designed by a guy called Ermal Faze. Here he is, back in 1965, and he took a patent out for it. It's from 1963. He took a patent out for it. Now, I've heard, I say heard, that the deal he did was he got sort of 0.001 of a cent for every ring pull that was used through his patent. I couldn't find any evidence for this one, so I'm not going to say that was true. I've heard of these sort of stories out there to a certain extent. What he did do, he designed it. He tested it, he built one, he made some cans that worked, then he patented it. He patented it in 1963. There's the patent number, 3,349,949. And then he sold it. This is an interesting strategy. He sold that patent. He never made ring pulls. He sold the patent to Alcoa, I think, who were the canning company, basically. So he sold the patent, and then they bought the patent from him, and they then used this in their manufacture of beer cans, soft drink cans, and everything like that. What he did was brilliant, I think. Is he had a manufacturing company. He made the machines that made the cans, the can lids. So he had the machines to make this product. So he sold the patent to the drinks manufacturers, if you like. And then he said, if you like that, I've got the machine that can make it for you. So he made his money, and I couldn't find out how much he got for the patent. It would have been significant, I would have thought. So he sold the patent. He's right. And then he said, if you like that, here's the machines. He actually made his money out of selling machines to make the lids for which he sold the patent on. So strategically, very, very good. He was a machine tool company back in the day. Now, maybe a better deal could have been he could have made the patent and the design, and rather than selling it, he could have then licensed it to Coca-Cola, whoever it was, or Alcoa, and said, look, you can use it. And this is an interesting strategy as well. You build this thing once, you build the patent once, or the design, and then you say to another organization, look, this is a fabulous idea. Do you want to use it? And they go, that'd be great. They don't buy it from you. They give you a commission on the use of it. They rent it from you. They have to be careful with this, because as Jonathan will explain, all these things, patents can come to an end. There's a term against them. So you have to watch out for that. But this is what he did. And he made a lot of money out of it. It was a great idea. It came in 1975 when the ring pulls that we now have, where they crack the lid but stay in place on the lid. You don't throw them away. Much better environmentally. And that came out in 1975. Another patent was taken out on that. But these are everywhere. I think Coca-Cola alone sell 1.5 billion either bottles and cans of soft drinks every day. So that's a huge amount, and this is where there's patents that change the world. So if you've got a product or a gadget or a thing in your business, you can take a patent out on it and then you can produce it yourself. Absolutely you can, because you own the patent. Or you can go to another bigger company and go, do you want to buy this? And they may go, yes, or you can rent it to them. But that's where the ring pull came from. That's the strength of having control over your designs, your IP. Another thing you can do, maybe in the engineering sector, for example, is get specified. If you've got a product that you own the design of, or the construction of, and the layout of, you own it, and you can get it specified by architects or by engineers. When you're specified, now there are ways around this. Those in this sector, anybody in this sort of the construction building sector will know being specified is only stage one of many you have to go through, but it's a good start. Get specified by the originator, by the designer, and then you're likely to be able to have scalability, because they've got to use your product. They can't get it anywhere else. It's protected by copyright or patent or whatever it is. They've got to come to you for it, and then you get tied into the contract without selling anything at all. So that's an interesting way of doing it. Our son Richard, who is having his first baby over the weekend, or being well, he works for a company called Contour Heating Products over in the UK, and what they've done very cleverly, in my opinion, they have a range of radiator covers, basically, but they're very high-tech ones. They're used in hospitals, they're thermally efficient, they don't get too hot, and they're also anti-ligature as well. So hospitals, the prisons, and all that, you did very, very busy, but they're specified. They own the copyright, the patents, they're specified on drawings. So when Richard goes, and he's in sales, when he goes to talk to the architects or the contractors, he's already not completely the way there, but he's halfway there. He gets the meeting, he gets the conversation, because they've got to find a good excuse to bypass the specification. You can do it, but at least you get there. He's very good at sales. I'm not sure where he gets that from, but he's very good at sales. So he gets the appointment, gets the meeting. He's great to do business with. Off he goes. He gets all the business he can really sort of cope with. I'm letting some more people in, so I'm just clicking over here furiously. So welcome guys who've just joined. So get yourself specified. Now you can't get specified unless your product is distinct, unless it's got a part number and it's protected. Otherwise they'll go, I need this thing, this bolt. Great, we can make those for you. Not if it's under a copyright protection or whatever it is protected. Then you've got this leverage. You've got to have it protected first. So get specified. Now, another little quick tip that I find when I'm working on these type of projects, for us and with clients as well, when you start to design and develop new ideas or systems and protocols and things like that, you may get some tax credits, research and development tax credits. Now, again, I'm not promising you this, but if you start designing and researching and being innovative, creating new products and ideas and services and systems, you're investing money in it. And there are certain criteria you have to fulfill to be able to do this. You may get, in the UK, it's called the R&D Tax Credits through HMRC, but there's a scheme like this in various jurisdictions where when you're investing in research and development, there's some sort of incentive for you to do it. And in the UK, it's through tax credits and regular it is. Now, if you're in the UK and you want to find out about tax credits, I'm not an accountant. Speak to Aaron. I think Aaron's on the call anyway. Aaron Gilmore, Trowbridge Accountants, and he'll guide you through. I know he's a specialist at this sort of thing. I have a couple of clients who've been with Aaron and they've got significant amounts of money back, and money they weren't expecting to get, actually, which is always a nice surprise. You'd be amazed what can qualify as R&D. You really would. Now, you've got to be careful with it. You've got to be compliant with it, but you'd be surprised. Everybody pretty much, has done something which may qualify for under the R&D tax credit regime. So if you're interested in that, and the more of this sort of work you're doing on development, you're probably going to be crossing these sort of lines. Aaron Gilmore, Trowbridge, you can contact him through me if you like. I think he's on the call. He might be in the meetings, probably make some more sales. Anyway, but Aaron Gilmore, Trowbridge, great guy, and he'll guide you through it. Ping me a note and I'll send you his contact details. So how do we in business, how do we do this? You've got copyright, you've got patent, you've got protection, you've got all these sort of amazing things going on. Well, then what do you do with it? Well, then you can consider things like licensing. Now, what does that mean? Well, you've got an idea, you've got a product, a service or a system, and you say to another company, well, you can use our brand, our logo, our kit, or whatever it is, our widgets, You can't buy the rights to it, but we'll license you to use it. We'll license you to use our logo. We'll license you to use our brand. We may even license you to manufacture it as well. You make the thing as we tell you to do it. You make it under license. So you keep control, you keep the design, you keep the control of everything, but you're renting out through a licensing agreement the way to expand your visibility. It doesn't mean, what it means is you haven't got to build a company in the USA or hire people or anything like that. You can, I was going to say simply license. I don't mean simply do it, but licensing could be an option. You contact a like-minded business in the USA. I've got a fabulous product, service, gadget, gizmo here. It's all, I own the thing. Would it be helpful to you in your network if you could use this product and sell it through your network? Yep, that'd be great. Love it. They win. They get more products going through their existing network. We win because we've got access to a market we wouldn't otherwise have had. That scalability. Now, this is an intro. I'm not seeing these on the shelves actually, but it doesn't sound particularly appealing. But anyway, this is a Tic Tac, the little mints, the Tic Tac mints. Well, they did a deal with Coca-Cola. So now Coca-Cola licensed to, I think it's Ferrero, the company that make Tic Tac. So Coca-Cola license Ferrero to, I assume, use some maybe flavoring or something, but you can see they've got their use of their logo. And I think on the actual mint itself, they've got the Coca-Cola logo printed, and it says made, I assume they taste of Coca-Cola. I can't think of anything worse than a mint flavored Coca-Cola, but still. But if the Tic Tac people just started doing that without permission from Coca-Cola, off they go. Court cases and all going around. It'll kick off because all Coca-Cola have is their logo, their protection, their copyright, and their reputation. But they will license it, and that's what it means. So you'll keep the ownership of your copyright, patents, and registered trademarks, but you allow through agreement other people to use it. Gives you huge scope of scalability, because you can just do what you're already doing. They do all the work. They do the distribution, they do the marketing, they do delivery. Now, do you need to share your profitability with them? Absolutely. They've got to make a profit out of it. If you're licensing, you're probably not going to make the margins out of it, but you are going to get the income from the licensing agreements, and maybe you do a commission on volume and this sort of thing as well. But you do have to maybe sacrifice a bit of the GP that you traditionally could make through the old manufacturing and delivery distribution sector you've got in the UK, perhaps. When you do it remotely through licensing, yeah, you've got to maybe sacrifice some of that. But what you're doing is you're gaining scale, you're gaining volume, you're gaining big numbers. But you've got to do the calculation first. So licensing could be an option for you. Distribution network. We have a client in Luxembourg, and they make cosmetics. They're a cosmetics company, but they don't sell cosmetics. They have a range of distributors all over the world, where they have like a local distributor networks selling at home parties, like the Tupperware model, where they buy their stock and they go and sell it to all their friends, and that works really well. One of the most best known ones, of course, is Herbalife. If you've ever been to a networking event in just about any country in the world, in my experience, any country, they'll go to a networking event and there's somebody pop up, and they're the local Herbalife distributor. Now, does that distributor, do they own anything to do with Herbalife? No, they don't. They don't own it at all. All they've done is been allocated a distribution license or agreement to say, well, we will allow you to use our name, our logo, and we'll provide you products at a certain price that you can go make a profit on, and away you go. So you can use distributors, and they haven't got to be all through people's homes and that sort of thing. But a distribution network, it fragments your sales force, and if it works for your product or your service to a certain extent, it's certainly something to bear in mind. But it gives you huge scalability, things you couldn't do otherwise by using the traditional model of hiring salespeople and just sending them out in the little company cars to the little chef all over the UK. So just consider distribution networks. It works really well. Again, you have to sacrifice maybe margin, because you've got to allow the distributor network to make some money out of this as well. So you do sacrifice GP to a certain extent. What you can gain, however, is volume, scalability. And then it's a case of looking at the model. Is the model better? Are you better off having a huge network under this model, or staying as you are? There are some cases I've seen where actually the business is such where you're better off staying small and niche and specialist, and scalability is not the way to go. That may be the thing. It may be people even on the call today, when you look at your company, or you have the conversation with me or something, we're looking and go, you know what, you're doing really well, stay put, life's good, keep going. It may not be the perfect model, but it could be something to consider. So distribution, and then a little favorite of mine, because it's my background as well. I've been both franchisee and franchisor, and we're in the franchising business now. We are franchising our coaching business. So this is a little pet one of mine to a certain extent. But franchising is different to a distributor network. There are differences there. Now, before I talk about franchising, again, I want to talk about it from a principle point of view, not particularly a legal point of view. So if you're thinking about going down the franchising route and you want some specific advice, I recommend you speak to Vicky Mittman. She's on the call today. And oh, thank you, Stefan. Yeah, Tic Tac belongs to Ferrero. Yes, of course, one of your clients, absolutely. But speak to Vicky or contact Vicky, and she will guide you through some of the basic principles of what you need to do to either qualify to be a franchise or get your legal agreements and frameworks in place. Vicky is extremely busy, so if you speak to Vicky now, she can't do anything until about September. So don't, you have to get your time planned ahead, but do take professional legal advice before you start doing anything with any agreements, but specifically franchising as well. So it's Vicky, she's on the call. Please drop her a message. You can contact her through me and I'll send you her details, but she's great and she will sort you out on the franchising front. But anyway, some options. What can you do with your IP when you're in the franchise business? Number one, you can sell a license. Now I can sell you, if I'm a martial artist, for example, or any martial artists on the call, I can sell somebody a license to operate a franchise under my brand. And what I get for that, if I'm the franchisee, I can use your logo, I get support, I get training, I get all the things that go with the business model, and the framework is already there. Systems and structure, how to run my business, much better than if I did myself. So I can sell an individual license. The money, however, from the actual delivering the martial art, if you like, that money is made by the franchisee. This is part of the change of mindset. Franchisors, be careful what I say here, they don't make all their money from the volume of people that come through the franchisee's business. They will make money from it, but not directly. So the franchise model is really this renting out your IP. If I buy a franchise from McDonald's, all I'm doing is being loaned access to their IP, their brand, their logo, their systems, their structure. And when the franchise agreement is over, I'm gone, or I don't renew, or whatever it's going to be. So you can sell a license. That's one way of making money from your franchise business. You can also then sell training. When you get a franchisee come on board, you will train them in all your systems, your procedures, your processes, how to sell, how to market, how to deliver. And you can sell that as a training module as part of the franchise deal. And every franchise does this. So you can sell a license, you can sell training, and then you have what we call royalties or fees. So then you will charge your franchisee a fee each month to sort of stay part of the gang. It could be just a royalty, it might be a marketing fee, maybe you charge 2%, between 2 and 5%, something like that, of their sales. So you can then invest in websites and marketing and things like that. But your income as a franchisor, your income is almost independent of the volume of people coming through the franchisee business, because you make your money from selling franchises and obviously successful franchisees, but really it's licensing, training, and the royalty that comes through. So it's a different mindset. It goes all the way back to the sort of technician mindset. What I find, and I'm going to pick on martial artists, I love them dearly. I've worked with a number of clients who are martial artists. They're a great bunch. They'll probably recognize this, I think, when I say this, that the very best martial artists in the world do not always have the best businesses, martial arts businesses in the world. And sometimes the opposite can also be true. Sometimes the not so good martial artists have a better, not better, different, bigger, scalable business model than the best martial artists do. And the reason for it is simply that because a lot of martial artists stay in technician mode, and there's nothing wrong with that, unless you want to step back from your business and go, okay, I'm going to step away from the mats, away from the academy, and start building this business on a scalable basis and get off the mats. I've got a couple of martial arts clients now that have been with us for about 2 years, just over 2 years, and both of them don't go on the mats. They only do the gradings occasionally, and they do some instructor tuition, and they do franchise training. That's it. They don't go on the mats anymore because they've changed from martial artist mentality into franchise business owner mentality. And that same applies to accountants and lawyers and engineers and medical practitioners. The same thing applies, but you've got to think in a slightly different way. If you're going to do this, you can't do it while you're on the mats, or you can't do it while you're doing the lawyering or doing the accounting or whatever it is. It's a different approach. So that's level one of franchising. You sell licenses and you can sell training and get royalty and fees. That's level one. But also in the franchising model, yes, you can sell more franchises all over the UK or whatever territory you're in. Now, if you're going to go, you need to have agreements in place. You need to speak to Vicky, get it all sorted out first. Make sure you're compliant. Make sure everything's in place. Don't just go out and wander off and go, here's a franchise. Do you want to buy one? And back of a fag packet. Get it done properly. Franchise sales, then you can do territory sales. And when I was in the franchising business, we were selling territory, and what that would mean, and this is leverage at a very high level. So for example, these are made up numbers, but you'll get the idea. I was selling Germany. So I'm sat in Luxembourg in the office. I'm selling Germany for a franchise organization. So somebody comes to me and they say, look, we like the franchise offer. I want to be what is called a master license. I want to own Germany. They want to own Germany, have the rights to Germany, so they can then themselves go and sell franchises on our behalf in that territory. So I'm going to sell that person Germany, and I'm going to sell it for a million. You can buy Germany for €1 million. Now, what the agreement there is, look, you can buy Germany from me for €1 million, and I'm going to give you the right to sell my franchise to other people in Germany, as much as you like. Away you go. You've got the sole rights to go. Nobody else can do it, just you. You make your money by selling franchises. I make my money by selling Germany. Now, the beauty of that, if you think about it, the beauty of that is, what did I have to pay to buy Germany in the first place? Nothing. I can do the same in France. I can do the same in every territory in the world, pretty much. Maybe not North Korea, okay? I can every territory in the world. The beauty of having intellectual property protected systems, services, and products when it's under this sort of level is that I haven't got to buy the good that I'm selling before I sell it. If that makes sense. But anyway, so I can sell Germany. It doesn't cost me anything. It's pure income to me, but he can't sell my franchise anywhere without my say so. So I'm going to sell him the rights to do it. I can do that in every country in the world, every territory in the world. Regional sales, I can sell counties, I can have anywhere I like. But this is really the high level scalability, because I'm not now just selling students onto the mats in a martial arts academy. I'm now attracting clients to my legal practice or my accounting practice or my coaching practice. It's a different mindset. It's a different approach that means that scalability comes when we stop thinking like a technician in the sort of the S quadrant. And there are people out there with multi-million businesses that are thinking in the S quadrant on the cash flow from Rob Kiyosaki and not going into the business owner quadrant. They're locking themselves in. So I can make my money then, the growth and scalability, by selling Germany, by selling France. Now, if you compare that level of effort, how much effort does it take me to sell Germany compared to selling one student in an academy as a martial artist? There's more to it. There's more to it, but not a million times more. There's more effort goes into. I have to sacrifice profitability. The master licensee has to make some money out of this as well. I get that. What I get back is scale and growth, and it takes the brakes off. And it's this fractional thinking. How can I take what I've built and protected and copyrighted and patented and structured and all this sort of thing? You've got to start with that. And then you stand back out of technician mode, and then you can duplicate and build your business on that, and this sort of fragmented approach. So that's the principles for it. It applies to just about every sector. I've kept it really broad. I hope anybody on here, I was looking at the messages over here. Yes, good. I haven't sort of said anything wrong. My official advice is, if you want advice and guidance, speak to the professional specialists. So Jonathan Midgley on the legal side, Vicky, Jimmy on the recruitment side. Find a specialist that can help you. I'm more of a generalist. I can help you with the principles and the strategy for it, but get good, solid advice. Don't do any of this until you are ready to launch, because it can go horribly wrong. That's my official guide. That's my get out of jail free card. So as a review, just a refresh and review the final points, if you like. First of all, look at the crisis points in your business. Where are you in your business? And have you hit that glass ceiling? Every company does. At some point, they hit this ceiling beyond which they can't break through. And it might be the solopreneur doing 100 grand a year or something. It could be the mid-size 20 million manufacturing business, but they still can't break through because there's some crisis point in there. And if you can recognize what it is, what's stopping you, what's preventing you, what's gumming up the works, and then you can stand back from it. Okay, how do we sort of bypass this? And it could well be that it has to be scalability, leverage, and protection, this type of thing. So check on the crisis point that you're in right now. Or are you just working too hard? Are you having to push so hard? As we found with our transport business, we're pushing so hard that the effort going in was not being rewarded at the other end. Leverage doesn't work that way. Leverage should be the other way around. Small effort, big reward. Sell Germany, massive leverage. That's a principle for it. So where's your crisis point? Where are you now in your crisis point? Systems and CPR. Look at your systemizing of your business. Do you need CPR? Every company needs CPR, copyright, patents, and the registered trademarks. But do you need other gaps there? And I'm pretty much, there probably will be. There'll be something in your business where you really should have it protected and structured and certified and contractually bound, whatever it is, something there. Get that done first, because then you can rent it. You can rent access to your protected products and services. That's the essence of it. But do an audit on that and maybe get some advice and guidance. And then start thinking in a fractional way. Don't think in duplication. Don't just think in terms of, how do I get another client? How do I open a branch in London? How do I open an office in Manchester? Think in fractional terms. What is your best route to market? What's your distribution network going to look like? Is it going to be, there's a valid point for opening up your own branch. It's absolutely, that might be the best thing for you. Or is it through distributorship networks? Is it through licensing? Is it through franchising? Are there other models you can use to achieve this leverage of small effort, big major return? And that's what these other companies have done. Whether they did it by design, I don't know. But you look at the companies that have scaled, they've got this duplication, renting, not selling what they do. And then the final mindset is rent, don't sell. Rent what you've got, don't sell it to people. Let them borrow it, and then they return it. So, for example, I'm going to use the example of selling Germany. I'm renting Germany. Sounds bizarre. If that master license holder doesn't make it, because in his agreement, he's going to have a development clause, which means he's got to sell a number of franchises in Germany over a period of time. If he doesn't hit that development clause, potentially I can take the rental agreement off him, take his franchise off him. Now, that's obviously not the intention. If that happens and he falls over and doesn't do his job and wanders off, what can I do with Germany? Well, I can sell it again. It doesn't evaporate. It just becomes another opportunity. So all this model goes into is this scalability and leverage, but renting, not selling at some level. It could be leasing. It could be putting people onto a maintenance contract. It could be having people rent or lease out your services, or whatever it is. Find a way, maybe rather than sell it as a one-off, have a rental agreement or something like that. It's an interesting model that may fit not every part of every business, but certainly aspects of it could be very, very useful. The car industry is moving this way, and software industry has gone that way already. And this sort of marginal rental subscription business model, very, very interesting, that could give you some edge and ease of access, ease of scalability. So I have an ebook that you're welcome to have. It's called Fractional Thinking, Fractional Reserves. It's all about how the banks, I'm not going to go through the fractional reserve banking system, I haven't got time, but there's a very interesting model that banks, the financial services sector, is based on fractional reserve banking. Real interesting mindset. If you want a copy of the ebook, drop me a message, an email on LinkedIn, not on here. We can on here, but I won't see it because the message box will evaporate when we finish the Zoom call. But I'm easy to find. LinkedIn, just go ebook, please. Drop me. I'll send it over to you. Some of the tips and ideas in there you may find helpful, and hopefully helpful and interesting. Okay, so that really completes the presentation of the workshop. I hope you found it of interest. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pause the recording, if I can find the right buttons. 1 second.